Hello and good morning to respected dignitaries and my dear participants. On behalf of Mahatma Gandhi University, Nalgonda, myself, Ramsha Khalik, Research Scholar, Mahatma Gandhi University, welcome you all to today day 4 of 5-day faculty development program on data analysis using SPSS. In today's session, we will be getting updated on introduction to MOS, measurement model analysis, and structural model analysis. Now, I would like you to introduce you to today's guest speaker, Dr. Parul Kumar Ma'am. Dr. Parul Kumar Ma'am is a keen researcher, trainer, and educator having an experience of more than 11 years. Ma'am holds a PhD in finance from IGNOU and has been presently working at Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University, Government of NCT, Delhi. She is also pursuing postdoctoral research from University Malaysia Perlis in the area of investor psychology. Ma'am has conducted corporate training sessions, FTP workshops on SPSS, Smart PLS, MOS, eViews, and Advanced Excel. Ma'am has also taken several sessions on regression analysis, structural equation modeling, research methodology, research paper writing, and data analysis at various institutes of high repute. She is a certified smart PLS trainer and mental advisor. Ma'am holds certification in data analytics, predictive modeling, financial modeling, regression analysis, art programming, and Tableau from Wharton, Johns Hopkins, and Rice University, to name a few. Ma'am has authored and co-authored various research papers published in SSCI, Scopus, ABDC, and UGC Care journals. Her publications are in Current Psychology, Finance India, Prabandhan, Indian Journal of Management, World Review of Science, Technology and Sustainable Development, International Journal of Business Governance and Ethics, Procedia Computer Science, and International Journal of Monetary Economics and Finance. International Journal of Public Sector Performance Management, just to name a few. Ma'am is a guest editor of International Journal of Management Practice, Scopus Indexed. She has been awarded Best Business Academic of the Year Silver Medal by India Commerce Association at the 70th All India Commerce Conference, Jaipur. Her research interests include financial market, foreign portfolio investors, online education, behavioral finance, corporate governance, MOOCs, employee psychology, and social sciences. So, here I am very pleased to welcome Dr. Parul Kumar Ma'am. Ma'am, I request you to kindly take the charge and address the gathering.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome, ma'am.
So, good morning, everyone. As Ms. Ramsha has already briefed you that today's session we would be covering with respect to the AMOS, that what all things you do in the AMOS, or specifically the structure equation modeling. So I will be taking you through to the basics of the SCM, basics of the which we talk about confirmatory factor analysis. And then finally, I'll take you to the doing the analysis on the MOS. I'll give you a quick demo as well so that you will be able to understand it better. But in the first place, I will be starting with the theory only because theory is really important in understanding what we are actually going to do. Fine. So structure equation modeling using MOS. SEM, many of you have heard of, many of you are aware of, some of you may be working on it. It is quite a possibility. But why it is done? What are the prerequisites which are required to be performed while you are going for the SEM? These all things I'll tell you in detail over here. So I have divided a session into a set of 6 sessions. So first we'll start with the introduction, the basic key areas, the key concepts which you need to be understanding before developing deep into it. Then starting with the first process, that is the CFA steps. What is the CFA? When the CFA is applied? Then how to check the validity and reliability in the CFA. After that, we will come to the assessment of the model, how good my model is, and finally, how to apply the structured equation modeling, specifically in the MOS. Fine. So let's quickly start with the introduction first. So what is a factor analysis? First, understand the factor analysis and then you will be understand what is CFA. So it is all about understanding the unobserved variables which are not directly measured, when you are collecting your data. So these variables are not directly measured. So how we measure? We apply a technique which tries to find the common perceptions among the measured variables, common perceptions among the questions you asked. What are those common things? And then club those common things into blocks. And these blocks are actually the factors. This is also known as dimension reduction technique. Why we say dimension reduction technique? Because you have set off, let's say, 80 questions. If you will analyze each and every question, you will not be able to make a good, meaningful inference. You can make a descriptive inference, but not a meaningful, in a detailed inference from it. Thus, when we perform the factor analysis, it condenses my 80 statements, my 80 questions into set of smaller factors. That is why we say it is a dimension reduction technique. It is also known as interdependence technique. Why? Because the main purpose of identifying this unmeasured, unobserved factor is how the few statements, how the few questions are related to each other. So, what is the interdependence among them so that we can club these statements and form them into one factor? So, instead of understanding 5 statements, instead of understanding 20 statements, I will only be focusing on understanding the 4 factors. You will get more clarity as we will move forward with respect to that. This is just an overview I'm just starting with. So there are stages of factor analysis, but please understand that it is not necessary that in every case all of these stages have to be performed, because these 3 are itself, they are their own place. They have their own place in the literature. They have their own way of performing it in the literature. So first is EFA, confirmatory factor analysis, and then comes the structure equation modeling. So what are these 3 and how you proceed forward? So in simple terms, exploratory. When you are exploring, when you do not know anything about, you are performing something for the very first time. You do not know whether that specific thing forms a specific variable or not, whether these 4 statements will combine into one factor or not, or will it be able to explain something about a new factor or not. Fine. So then we are exploring, we are trying to reveal. So that's an exploratory factor analysis. Once you explore, then you need to confirm that whatever you explored, is it fine or not. So then you go for the confirmatory factor analysis, that you confirm it. So that is why we say confirmatory is applied when there is a set structure. When there is a set structure, you already know what are the factors, you already know what are the things and relationships. So you are testing it. You are only testing it. You explore, you test. Fine. Now, you will find studies who only focus on the EFA. Again, acceptable. You will find out the studies who will focus on EFA plus CFA. Fine. And you will find out the studies, those will focus on CFA and the SCM. And the final one, EFA, CFA, SCM. Fine. So in what scenario you can apply these things is when you are doing something for the very first time, you do not have any basis, like COVID situation is right now going on. So many people have done these studies since 2020. They have explored the new areas, new things. Vaccinations have been developed with the various permutations and combinations. Various combinations have been found out, and then finally a vaccination is here. So we exploded. Nothing like this happened earlier. So we exploded. Fine. So there is no set formula with me that this is the vaccination is there. I can give it to the public and it will cure the COVID-19. No, it was not like that. So we exploded. Then we confirmed it on a testing. We confirmed it with the help of testing that whatever we explode, is it actually applicable? Is it actually fine? Am I my model? Whatever ingredients I had used, is it actually beneficial or not? So we did the confirmatory analysis. Once this is done, then I came towards the structure equation modeling, which is all about understanding the path relationships, that whether one factor is impacting the another factor or not. If I give COVID-19 vaccine to a person, then there is 30% less chances, 20% less chances, or 90% less chances that the person is going to get affected by the COVID. Or there is an impact of the vaccination, let's say on the hair, let's say on the skin of a person, let's say on the weight of a person. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to establish a relationship. So relationship testing, or we say hypothesis testing, comes in structure equation modeling. EFA and CFA do not do the hypothesis testing. They will only help you in understanding how good the questions which you have used in your questionnaire, or how good the data which you gathered from the sources, together they are forming a one model. Moving forward, again to give you in more detail, what is the difference between the EFA and CFA? So EFA is used when there is no literature available, you do not have any set structure, you are adopting, you are using a scale, you are making a scale, you are developing your own questionnaire, you are developing your own scale, or you may be modifying an existing scale. Fine. So it can be applied into various processes. And the most important thing where EFA is applied is theory generation. When you are generating a theory about something, so you go for exploring. Once theory is generated, you go on testing it. So then we say there is a scale which we have explored and now we are testing it. Or you are using somebody else's questionnaire, fine, to bring out a new information out of it. So then you go for the confirmatory. So you already have a priori knowledge of the factor structure. Fine. CFA is driven by the theoretical expectations, while the EFA is used for the theoretical generation. So you generate the theory from the EFA, you test that theory in the CFA. Or if you have the existing theory, you directly go on testing it. CFA is known as the measurement model in the SEM. Fine. And the structural model is when you perform the SEM actually. Primary task in the CFA is to understand how good the model is. How good the model is, how good the sample data is. Am I able to get a meaningful information out of it or not? That is the main and sole purpose of conducting a CFA. Now, few terms which I'll keep on repeating, and I've already said it many times. Let's understand those one by one. So what are the items, statements, and variables? What are the factors? So these actually explain you these things. So please see it very carefully because this is really, really important to understand that. So here it is. This
Hello,
is,
excuse me,
yes,
ma'am. Can you
yes.
just explain the CFA second time?
I will. Just give me 1 minute. I'll give you a time
Okay,
to ask the questions. I will.
sure.
So when you see here, this is a factor. Now this factor is being formed by set of three statements. Somebody's mic is unmute. I request to please mute. So these are formed by set of three items. Now what are these items? These items are the statements or the questions, or also known as the variables, which you have asked from the respondents. So the questions which you ask from the respondents become the items. Now whichever item is correlated much forms one factor. So this is actually the factor analysis, that you have set of 6 statements. Out of those 6 statements, when you studied the factor analysis, you found out that first 3 statements have too much correlation, too much interdependence among them. Thus, these 3 can be used to form more meaningful factor, which is factor A. The next 3 statements have another set of interdependence. Thus, they can be used to form factor number B. Now, since these are the questions which we asked from the respondent, so we say these are the observed variables, or we say these are the items, statements, or questions. This is a factor which is being formed with the help of these statements. Thus, it is known as a latent construct or unobserved variable. Latent construct or unobserved variable. Fine. So please understand, items, statements, questions are same, variables are same. These are observed, which we directly ask. Factor is unobserved, which is formed. That is known as a construct, that is known as a latent construct, that is known as an unobserved variable. Fine, this is one thing. Second most important thing, which all of you should understand, that however in AMOS this thing has little applicability, but still it is really important. There are 2 types of scales which are there in the literature: reflective scales and formative scales. Now, if you see the difference is the arrows. In the reflective one, the arrows are coming from the construct to the item, and in the formative, the arrows are going inside the construct. So, reflective, we say the construct is the reflection of the items. The construct is the reflection of the items. In formative, we say the construct is formed of these items. The construct is formed from these 3 items. So please understand reflection and formation. So when there is a reflection, then these 3 are reflected in the construct. But when something is formed, it is a formation. So these becomes the crucial components. I'll give you another examples. Now see the example. Reflective scale. The construct is timeliness, and timeliness is measured by that a person accommodate last minute request, punctuality in meeting the deadline, the speed of returning the phone calls. So timeliness is actually reflecting. These things is actually the reflection. Now see this one. Ease of use. How can we say it is ease of use? Something is easy to use, easy to learn, controllable, it is clear, flexible, easy to become skillful. So the factor is the reflection of the questions. So these are the set of questions I asked from the respondent, and these are formed into one factor, that is timeliness. And the same wise, these set of 5 statements are being asked from the respondent, and a meaningful construct was formed, which is ease of use. Ease of use. See the difference with respect to the formative scales now. Life stress can be caused by job stress, divorce, recent accident. It is quite a possibility. But is it a possibility that all the 3 things happen at the same time? Not necessary. A person may be going through a job stress, not happy with the job, but maybe having a great marriage, have not suffered any accident, but still his life has a stress component. So what we say, life stress is formed of these 3. So if you have any of these 3, life has a stress. Life has a stress. So if increase in the job stress would increase the life stress, even if the person is not going through the divorce. See the second one. Social economic status is being formed by income, education, occupational prestige. So let's say the person education increased. Let's say the person education increased, but income didn't increase. Person education increased, the person became from master's to PhD. Let's say that. Fine. But the income level remains the same. Income level didn't change. But still, the person is a doctorate now. So he has a special socio-economic status. Fine. So an increase in income would increase the socio-economic status. Even if there is no increase in the education, there is no increase in the prestige of the person. So, formative and reflective, the most important thing to understand is informative. It is not at all necessary that one is changing and others also change. No, it is not like that. It is not like that because these are forming something, these are causing something. Another question which you may ask, from one factor, one construct can be formative as well as reflective. How? See this slide and see it very carefully. Read the sentences. Read the sentences. The blue one. The blue one. Satisfaction. Both these scales are satisfaction scales. But please have a look at the statements. Satisfaction. I appreciate the product. I am looking forward to buy it again. I will recommend this to the others. What all these three things are indicating that the person is satisfied with my product. See the next satisfaction, the red satisfaction. The look of the product is good. It is user friendly. The price is cheap. The packaging is good. Now what I am doing in these four statements? I am checking different dimension of a construct. I am checking the look. I am checking the user friendliness. I am checking the price. I am checking the packaging. So a product look may be good, but it may not be user friendly. It may not be, the price may not be the cheap. So the satisfaction level automatically changes. Fine. So reflection and formation. Always understand that. And to summarize it, reflection all represents the underlying construct in the reflective model, and these are expected to be correlated. Now what I am saying correlated, I am saying these are expected to be correlated. When these statements are correlated, then only they will form satisfaction. Then only they will form a factor. So for factor analysis, correlation is really important. Due to high correlation between the indicators, it is quite easily possible to interchange or drop an item from the construct. So when we perform the analysis, when it is a reflective construct, it becomes very easy to drop one of the variable, one of the item, if it is not coming good, because all of them are correlated actually. All of them have high correlation. So if you remove one, still they will be able to explain good about the construct. However, when you are working with the formative construct, the things change actually, because here this product satisfaction is caused by the items. It is caused by the items. Fine. So any change in price would decrease the satisfaction even if there is no change in the user friendliness or the look of the product. In this, high correlation between the indicators is not at all expected, because they are forming, they are causing. So it is not necessary that these have high correlations. Thus, if you are dropping an item in the formative construct, it is like dropping the part of the information. It is like dropping the more important, not more important, this is like dropping the the component of the construct. So that is why it is really difficult, or it is really, you have to be very cautious when you are dealing with the formative constructs. Now, why I explained you the reflective and the formative? Because in the MOS, when you are performing the structure equation modeling, you cannot use the formative constructs in the MOS. You only work on the reflective constructs in the MOS. If your model has formative constructs, then it has to be dealt in some other softwares like Smart PLS. You go for R programming, Python, Stata, you can go for that. But in the MOS, only reflective constructs should be there. No formative constructs should be there. Now coming towards the CFA steps, and the person who has asked me about explaining about CFA, you will understand it now better. So what are these steps actually? So the first and the foremost thing what we say is, you should review the existing literature. Literature tells you that what is a structure, what is a scale. Is there is a scale to measure the satisfaction? Is there is a scale to measure the mental health? Is there a scale to measure the life satisfaction? Is there a scale to measure the performance of a student? So review the literature, because CFA requires a set structure. A theory has to be there. Then you go forward with the CFA. You should beforehand know that these four statements will combine together to form a factor. These four statements will combine together to form a factor. This is really, really important for each one of you to understand it. Fine. So there has to be a set structure. There has to be a set structure. Always remember that. There has to be a set structure. Fine. Next, another important thing which all of you should understand, that somebody's mic is open. I request to please mute, because it creates a disturbance. Making the CFA model. Now what I'm saying, making the CFA model, you will see it in the next slide actually. So this is a construct, and this construct is being measured by the items, or we say the questions. Items or the questions. So you should be very much clear that what is the name of the construct, what are the items which are used. So how you can be clear of this? You can be clear of this when you know the literature. When you know the literature. So that is why CFA always depends upon the theory. So here the construct is represented by the circle. The item, the questions is represented by the rectangle in the model. Your each observed variable will have an error associated. So this is an observed variable. This will have the error associated. Why we say the error associated? Because you cannot explain each and everything. You cannot explain 100% of everything. So there has to be something which is left out, which is left to be, which is left unanswered. So that is why an error term is attached with each of the observed variable. So these rectangles represent the observed variable. So we attach the error term to it. This is how it looks like. Measurements errors are being unobserved and are also represented by the circle. Now another important thing which people actually fail to understand. CFA and EFA should be performed on separate data. CFA and EFA should be performed on separate data. Always remember that. Many people do what? They perform the CFA and EFA on the same set of data. It is totally wrong. From one data you are exploring and on the same data you are confirming. How can you will be able to define it then? How can you will be able to see whether whatever you explored is correct or wrong? How can you say that? So we say that it is advisable to go for some set of divide your data maybe into 80-20. So on 20% of the observations, you perform the EFA and rest 80% of the observations, you perform the CFA. Fine. Always do that. Another misconception among the people is that CFA has to be done separately for each of the variable. Not at all. Then it doesn't mean the CFA at all. You have to perform the CFA together for whole model. So how many factors you have, the number of factors you have into the model, you perform CFA for all the factors together at one go. At one go. And I will show you. Next thing is you check the reliability, you check the validity and the model fit. These three are actually the outputs which you are going to present. These are simply the ways of, these are simply, if I say put it across that, these are the important considerations which you have to keep in mind while performing the CFA. Fine. Any questions still here? You can raise your hands. Any questions still here?
Madam, you said 80% of observation we need to do CFA.
Ma'am,
And
80-20, you can go for 50-50, you can go for 40-60. Or if I say people usually perform the EFA on around 100 observations and rest data is kept for the CFA.
And one more thing you said is do CFA for all factor as one.
Yes.
I get confused.
I will tell you, don't worry. Just give me 5 minutes, I will tell you in the coming slides.
Okay, madam. Okay.
Yeah. Any other question?
Madam, can you explain the last 3 points of the NES slide?
The reliability, validity, I am going to discuss. I haven't explained.
No, last 3 points before the validity and reliability of the CFA points.
You are asking about this?
Include all latent constant.
Include all. This is what I told you. Include all the constructs. Constructs are this, sir, represented by a circle. Include all of them into one single model. I will show you. Just give me 1 minute. Just give me 5 minutes. I will show you this as well.
Okay. Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Is there any desirable data size to conduct EFA and CFA?
CFA there is, yes. For EFA, if I talk about, EFA usually we say at least 5 times the number of questions you have, that much data is required. But you will find the studies who have performed the EFA on set of 50 respondents as well. If you take my recommendation, I always say is go for at least 100 observations for running the EFA. And then go for the next set of data for running the CFA. Fine. But yes, you will find the studies who have performed the EFA on set of 50 observations as well.
And ma'am, for CFA?
I will tell you.
Oh.
I will tell you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
No.
Okay, fine. Then let's go ahead. So let's first understand. Yes. Someone is saying something?
No, I said you can go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So the next is the validity and reliability. So what is the concept of validity and reliability? This is very much important for all of you to understand. So valid, how appropriate your instrument means through which you collected the data, your questionnaire, in measuring what it is intended to measure, what it is designed to measure, how appropriate it is, how valid it is. It is checked with respect to, we check the content validity, we check the construct validity. Content, construct. Reliability, the degree to which The person is reliable. Reliable means you have given the same conditions, how that person reacts. Is the person produce same kind of scores in these situations, in the same circumstances? If yes, that means it is reliable. It is being checked by the Cronbach alpha, which we say if it is greater than 0.80, it is considered great. If I give you a simple diagrammatic example, so this is a dart game. When a person hits a bullseye, then we say it is valid. Why? Because dart game, hitting a bullseye is actually the measure that how good a person is. Fine. So we are saying the valid is hitting a bullseye. The person has been given 4 arrows. If you see, he has thrown 4 arrows. All the 4 arrows have gone out the dart board. What we can say about the validity and reliability of this person? Is valid? Is there validity? If you can put it on the chat. If you can put it on the chat, it will be great, everyone. Is it valid? No. No. Great. Is reliable?
Yes, it is reliable.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. Just valid and reliable. Why we say reliability is good? Because every time he is hitting almost at the same point. So he is reliable. See the next one. Tell me about this one. Validity. Validity. Please
He
put
is
it on
not
the chat.
constant.
Okay, so it's a poor validity. Yes, yes. Please, I need more answers on the chat. Poor validity. What about the reliability? Reliability is also poor. Why? Because see, he is throwing arrows anywhere. He is throwing the darts anywhere. So the reliability itself is poor. The person is not able to hit the same target again. Fine? See this one. How about this one? Validity and reliability. Are both good or only one is good? Both are good. The person is able to hit the bullseye. The person is able to hit the bullseye 4 times. Fine. So this is really, really important for our data. In the data, how we check the validity and reliability, these are these things which we check. So first part is the content validity. Content validity, there is no software to check it. There is no statistical method to check it. It is checked by, you have given your questionnaire to someone. For someone, if I say, you have given the questionnaire to the expert in that area, we usually say 3 experts from the academics, 3 experts from the industry. They read your questionnaire. If there is any ambiguity, any changes with respect to the statements, any misleading statements, or anything which is kind of per se content or face validity, that is done. So it is subjective systematic assessment. Then comes this construct validity. Construct validity is measured with the help of convergent and discriminant. Construct, remember the construct, our construct. This is our construct. This is our factor. So we have to check the validity of this construct. So this is, for this you check 2 things, convergent and discriminant. Now what is the meaning of convergent? How these statements which are used to measure this construct are converging in the factor. So how the 4 statements are converging into the construct. So it is convergent. How well the items are converging into the construct. That is correlation between the different items. Now what is discriminant? There are different constructs in the model. There are different constructs in the model, right? So are they different or are they same? That means they should not be too much correlated. They should not be too much correlated. They should not be correlated. They should be separate. Fine. Discriminate. The two constructs should discriminate. Means the respondent should be able to understand that these set of five statements are talking about something else, and this set of five statements are talking about something else. So the constructs should not be correlated, they should be different. Because if they are not different, then why there are two constructs? They can come into one. Fine. So these are the two important things which we check with respect to the validity. And there are measures to check it, which is coming in the coming slides. Now, the people who are asking about the constructs, how you put it. So this is the example actually, how the CFA model looks like. So this is one construct measured by 5 items, and there is an error term E1, E2, E3. If you see here, these are the terms which are mentioned. These are the error term. These are the questions which you asked. This is your latent variable which is being found. This is another construct, two constructs, and this is how your full model will look like. So you have 3 variables, let's say. So you will include all the constructs together into the model to form a CFA model. You will not run this separately. You will not run this separately. Rather, you will run it all together. You will run it all together. Fine. Now, whosoever has a question with respect to the measurement model design, not the explanation, I didn't explain to you yet, just the design, that how we perform it together, please ask me the question. Any question? No questions?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
Madam, let us proceed further. Then, if we have question, we will come back to that.
Yes,
Okay?
yes, yeah. Miss Mamta, you have a question you can ask?
Can you clear it with an example?
Which thing? I didn't understood you.
How we use this CFA model with in a questionnaire?
In a questionnaire, you do not put the model. In the questionnaire, you will only use the statements, ma'am. These are the statements, 1 to 5.
I know.
Then again, these
How
are
to analyze the questionnaire with this model, ma'am?
ma'am, that we will see it later on. First, understand the basic, and then we'll see later on.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. The next most important thing is to understand the degrees of freedom construct, degrees of freedom concept into the CFA model. See here, if you see, there are the constructs and these are measured by the statements. So there is one thing which we say that you have to check how well these are. What is a space for the model to move around and make assumptions? Because if you do not give the model the space, the freedom to move around, then the model will not be able to give you the results. If I put it in a single way, this is a very lame example I'm giving you. So we have a line, we have to divide it into, let's say we have 5 places. We have 5 places and it has to be divided among 4 people. We have 5 places and it has to be divided among 4 people. So we have the combinations because one, we have a free space with us. So we have the permutations and combinations in which those 4 people can be allotted the space out of the 5 space which are available. So this is the freedom the model also wants. If you will give me only 5 places and you will give me only 5 people, the model will be consumed to one stage. To one limit, we cannot perform. To one limit, to one extent, we cannot move further. So it chokes. So it says, or if I put it this way, if you give me 4 spaces and 5 people, then the model will not work at all. This is actually in the degrees of freedom thing. And this is what you need to understand, that degrees of freedom is actually how you are doing is the number of unique variances, and the covariances which we are finding, which we are about to introduce, which we are about to find in the model, minus the number of free parameters. Now, what are these free parameters and all? Just give me 1 minute. I'll just explain you with the diagram. Just give me 1 minute. Just I'm sharing. I hope the echo is not here now. Yes. Just give me 1 minute. I am. Can organizers allow my another device to share a screen? Is it possible? Dr. Ramesh, is it possible?
Yes, it is possible.
Can you please allow the device with the name of Samira to please share the screen?
Please, a minute, please.
It is done. It is not coming as yet. Anyways, Levi, I'll try to get it done in the next session. Let me tell you as this right now. Otherwise, it will waste our time. So what I'm saying is here is, let's suppose we have one construct which has 4 items which are being measured. Fine, these are the 4 items. And this is one construct. Now, what do you mean by these variances, parameters to estimate? Understand this concept first. So what we say parameters to estimate means what are the things the software will estimate for you. So that is factor loadings, factor variance, error variance, factors covariance. Fine. Now these are the things which you have to look for. So how you will look for? So what the system is doing for you is, it is giving you this measure. This is the loadings. How each of these statement is correlated with the factor. What is the contribution of each statement into the factor? This is what it is doing at first. Fine. Then now the next thing which you are doing is, here are the error terms as well. With every statement we have the error term as well. So the system will also give you the values. You do not have to give any values. You will only give these statements and nothing else. All the values are calculated by the software itself. You do not have to do it. So how it calculates and how it tells you that whether this is good to go or not, or you can go ahead with the analysis or not. So see it very carefully. Sorry, I do not have a pen right now to show you in a clear picture. So here we have to estimate this value of P. Now what is this P we are talking about? The number of data points or unique variances, which is equal to P bracket P plus 1 by 2. So what this P is? The things you are estimating. The things you are estimating. So what I'm estimating is, I'm estimating these 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 items. The loadings will be 4 and there will be 4 error terms. 4 loadings, 4 error terms. So what is the P? This is equal to the 8. This is equal to the 8. Fine. Now, the data points. What is a data point? What is a data point? This is the parameters to be estimated. Parameters to be estimated. Again, I am repeating. The software will estimate these values. Hello?
Your other system is enabled.
Enable. Okay, let me try it. Yes, it is coming now. Now see, this is what I'm saying. I hope the screen is visible now to everyone.
Yes, visible.
It is white screen visible, right?
Yeah.
So this is how the simple one construct if I'm talking about. So these are the factor loadings which the system will estimate. These are the error term values which the system will estimate. So what we say, the parameters to be estimated is equal to 4 plus 4. These 4 and these 4. So total 8. Now you have to estimate the data points as well. You have to estimate the data points as well. So that how will you estimate? For that it is very simple. For that we say it is P plus 1 by 2. Now again, here the P stands for the number of items, only the items, not the parameters, only the items to be estimated. So we have total of 4 items. So 4 plus 1. So it is 20 upon 2. So it is 10. It is 10. So what I am saying is my degrees of freedom is equal to 10 minus 8. The data points minus the parameters to be estimated. So it is 2. That means it is the over identified model. That means the model has to give you 10 values. The model has to give you 10 values. The model has to give you 10 values, sorry, 8 values, and you have 10 spaces. So you have 2 empty spaces, which gives the model enough free space to move around. Enough free space to make the answers, give you the assertions about it. Fine. So it is an over-identified model. These models are very much important for the CFA. Your model, CFA model should be over-identified or just identified. Now what is just identified? See the next one. Now here what I'm doing is, now I have a model with 3 questions. So here are the 3 questions. Again, there will be the error term which will be attached. Now let's calculate the same thing, which is the same thing which we calculated here again. Let's calculate. So the parameters here again is how much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 parameters we have to estimate. Fine. Now let's go for the data points. Data points. 3 statements. 1, 2, 3. 3 statements. 3 into 3 plus 1, 4 upon 2, 6. What is your degree of freedom? 6 minus 6, 0. So it is just identified. Means how much space you have, the model has that much parameters to be estimated. So it is just identified model. Fine. And the last type, if I talk about, is where you have less than 3 statements. You have only 2 statements with you. So here parameter becomes 1, 2, 3, 4. Data point is 2, 2, 3 and 2. So it is 3. So what do you understand? What is the difference now? 3 minus 4 is 1. Minus 1. That means it is the under identified model. The model needs to identify 4 answers. The model needs to give you 4 answers, but you have space for 3 answers actually. So that is why it is a saying that whenever you are performing a CFA, your construct, this is a construct, remember, your construct should have at least 3 items. Means you should at least work on the just identified model or over identified model. That is the reason that it should have at least 3 items. If it is less than 2 items, then you have to increase it, or if it is not possible, then please use smart PLS or R. Fine. Then do not go for MOS if you have less than 3 items. Is this point clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. This is the point which all of you should understand that. So whenever we are working on a model, please make sure when you are working in the MOS, your construct should have, at least 3. You will find the papers in which the constructs have less than 3 also, but that is only possible when you have a bigger model, when you have too many variables in the model and you are giving the space of much, then it is possible, then you can go ahead. But if it is only 2-3 variables, not more than that, then I would not recommend that you have this kind of a construct in the MOS. Fine.
Madam,
Yeah.
if we have 4 to 5 constructs, then each construct should have 3 items.
At least 3 items. Yes.
At least 3 items. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, madam.
Okay. Fine. So let me go
Ma'am,
with the
ma'am.
last slide. Yes.
Supposing I have 10 constructs, and if few of them in the construct, like 3, they are having 2 items, the rest is having 3 and more, then should I go for MOS?
Ma'am, you should go for MOS. That is what I'm saying. If you have a bigger model and there are few of the constructs which have 2 or less than 3, if I say, not 1, fine, 2 at least. So then you can go for, but please then you have to make sure that there is proper reliability and validity, which is our next session in which we will deal with. That there has to be proper validity and reliability. If it is not there, then MOS will not give you good results. So it is better that you should switch to the other software.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm sharing the last slide with all of you and then we'll break. No, we have time till 12, right? Okay, then let's continue. So these are the some important things which you should understand, that these are the things you should avoid. These are the things you should avoid when you are working in the CFA model. These kind of relationships you should not make. Now, see this one, the second one. Now, what this is telling you actually is that error terms are related. Error 1 is related to error 4, which is in factor number 2. This is not at all accepted. The error terms should be, if you want to relate them, they should be related within the factor only, not between the factors. Not between the factors. This is not acceptable. This kind of model is not acceptable. See another one. Here, variable 3 is also going for variable 4. The statement 4 is also impacting statement number 3 and 4. No, this is not acceptable. Why? Because what we are saying is factor 1 is totally different from factor number 2. So if you are creating this kind of a relationship, then it is actually exploiting that. See the next one. The error term is related to the factor, which is again wrong. It should not be there. It should not be there. Only the error should be related to error itself, which is the first block. Error to error within the construct. E1 and E3 within the same construct. E5 and E6. Fine. So only this kind of the model is acceptable and none of these are acceptable. Another thing. Now question comes, how do we decide whether this should be there or not? So there is a proper procedure which you will understand. Fine. And do make your notes from that. And then you will be able to understand that in what cases you will make this arrow. You will make this arrow. This double arrow means there is a covariance between factor 1 and factor 2, the covariance, because MOS totally works on the covariances. Covariance is how the two are varying together. Fine. So this is a covariance arrow. So here I am saying the errors are covariated. Both the errors are covariated. Now, how to test your measurement model. So these are the 4 things which you will report and which you will evaluate from the MOS. Path estimates. Path estimates means the loadings, the explanation power of each statement. The explanation power of each statement with the construct. With the construct. So this value greater than 0.5 is satisfactory, but if you go with the good literature, fine. So always it is said that 0.7 is the desirable. The more the loading above 0.7, then it is more desirable. Second thing we check is convergent and discriminant validity. Convergent validity is checked by composite reliability and average variance explained. CR and AVE. CR value should be greater than 0.7. AVE value should be greater than 0.5. I will explain you all these things along with the analysis. Just to give you an idea, then when I start with the analysis, I will explain you each and everything. Then comes model validity, which is with respect to discriminant validity. This is the table which is produced by the software itself. So you will able to see it. You just have to interpret it. You do not have to calculate it. You just have to interpret it. And the last, how good the CFA model is. Because if the model is good, then I am good to go ahead. If the model is not good, I cannot move ahead. So there are some set of parameters which are suggested by the researchers, and these are their threshold values which are given in the literature, which we should keep in mind and see how good my model is. How good my model is. Any questions till here? Reporting, I'll tell you later on. Any questions till here? If no questions, then I am starting with the MOS. Any question anybody wants to ask? No questions? Okay, then let me share the MOS screen with all of you. So this is how your MOS canvas looks like. Fine, when you want to open it, this is how it looks like. There are a set of menus on the left side, on the top as well. This is a blank canvas. Depending upon your requirement of the canvas size, for example, you want to make your diagram in the landscape form, or it is a taller one, so you want to make it in a portrait. So you can adjust this white area. Please remember, you have to work on this white area only. Fine, you have to work on this white area only. So how you can change this white area? First, let me tell you that. So you go to the view, you go to interface properties. View interface properties, or you can press Ctrl+I. Interface properties, you go for paper size. In the page layout, go for paper size, portrait legal. If it is portrait legal, it is a bigger size. If it is landscape, go for landscape legal. So if you click on portrait legal, click apply. Fine, so this is a portrait legal one. If you go for the landscape legal, so this is the landscape legal. First thing, fine, adjust the white area, because if you make anything outside the white area, the diagram will not work. Second, how to make a diagram here. How to make a diagram here. First, load the file. How to load a file? See, we named these columns as ABC. A, B column, C column. So in the A column, there is this symbol of select the data files. There is this column, select the data files. Click on that and go to the file. Click on the file name and select the file wherever it is there. If you want to do it with me in the software, please, you can go ahead and do alongside with me. Otherwise, you can just, where is my data file? Give me 1 minute. I hope the screen and the menus are visible to everyone. If the menus are not visible, please let me know.
It's visible, madam.
The menus are also visible, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm opening the file, just give me 1 minute. So let me just start with the diagram. Now what I'm doing is, see, C column, C1, C column, C1, C1. See, the mouse pointer has some kind of a diagram. See, I'm hovering it on the screen. Now click, drag. Click, drag. Just click and drag. See, it is so simple. Then go inside the circle. Just you go inside the circle, you see it is turning red. Now click, click. This will add the number of items you require. So let's suppose my first construct has 4 items. So I will click 4 times. Please ask me the question. Somebody's mic is unmute. I request to please mute. Again, I'm showing you. Click, click, click. This time I have a construct with 3 items only. Fine. Now let's suppose I created this circle, so I want to delete it. So go to this C5. Go to this C5, which is erase objects, this cross. Click on the cross, go to the circle and click. It will get removed from the canvas. Fine. Now you want to rotate this. Let's say you want to rotate this. So how you can rotate it? There is an option to rotate. See, in the column number B, B6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. B6. Click. Go to the circle and click. See, I am clicking and it is rotating. Next, let's suppose you do not want to do again and again, go to this and again draw. The size of circle may change. You want symmetry. So how you can have symmetry? It is very simple. Go on duplicating our object. In the column A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A5. Duplicate objects. Click on that. Go to here and go here and duplicate. Simply click and drag. Then you will have exactly same kind of sizes, same kind of circle sizes, diagrams, duplicates. Now the next question. Let's suppose my other variable doesn't have 4 items. It has only 3 items. What should I do? Very simple. Click on this cross and delete. You know, not require it. Delete. There has to be 3. Now again you have to adjust it. How to adjust this now? So you have to now drag it. You have to now select and drag it. But then we have to be very careful because the symmetry of the diagram changes. Please ask me the question, anyone? Any question? Are you able to do it? Are you able to do it? See, if I am drawing a square, it is not taking the circle along with it. Then what you have to do is, there is in the C column, preserve symmetries. Click on preserve symmetries and then pick up. See the symmetry of the diagram? I'm moving it and it is dragging like this. So it is preserving the symmetry of the diagram. Any question? Again, I'm asking. Any question? Please, either you have to give me a yes or no. Then only I will be able to move ahead.
No, madam.
Is this clear how to create a diagram? I do not want this now.
Yes, madam.
Yes, please. No questions? Okay. So you simply have to
No
do.
question.
Now, these are my 3 ones. I want to create a CFA model. How will I create a CFA model? You need a covariances arrow between them. So here in the B2, draw covariances, double-headed arrow. If you see, there's a double-headed arrow which is created. Now to beautify, see the arrows are going here and there. So there is a wand which is available, which is touch-up variable. You click, go to the circle, it automatically adjusts the arrows. So this is your normal simple CFA model which is ready. I have not added any of the data here. I have not added any names here. Just how to draw it. The drawing part is clear to everyone?
Yes, madam.
Okay. So then, now how to add the name of a variable here? How to add a name of this construct here? Fine. How to add it? Very simple. Simply double click it. You just double click it and there will be a new dialog box which will open. Simply double click it and there will be a new dialog box which will open.
Ma'am, your screen is not.
It will now be visible. So here, a new dialog box. If you see object properties, now variable name, let's suppose my variable name is ease of use. Click other. Do not go anywhere, just click on the other circle. Let's say it is internet. Let's go for the next one. Let's say it is education. Simply cross. Now simply cross. Fine. Now how to add the items here? These items are added from your data file. How to add a data file? Go to this select data file. Go to this select data file. A new dialog box will appear. Go to the file name. In the file name, select where your data file is. Select your data file, where your data file is. I guess mine isn't here. So let's say I select this file and I click it. See the types of data files it takes. It takes the database files, it takes the Excel 8.0 files, not Excel original, new files actually. You have to convert it into the SPSS file, which is .sav file, or you have to convert it into CSV or TXT file. Fine. Right now, this file is .sav file, which I am opening. It is a SPSS file. I click open, and if you see, there are 86 observations in this file. 86 respondent data is in the file, and I click OK. Once I click OK, you will see nothing. But where you will see here. C3. These are the list of statements, list of questions which are there in your data set. You simply click and drag, drop. Drag, drop. Drag and drop. You have to do it one by one. Any questions? I'm simply showing you.
Ma'am, without importing the data set, can we do it like
No.
manually V1, V2, V3, something like that? No.
Ma'am, if you do it, then the problem is that you can do it. But the problem is that if you define it wrongly and your data set has a different, variable name, then the model will not work. Fine. You can write it. You can simply type it. See, you can simply double click like we double click for the circle. You double click and write down the variable name. But it is not advisable because then you create a mistake. The model will not run because it will not be able to find the same variable in the data set. Okay, that is why it is advisable that you do it this way.
Okay.
Fine. Now we added the statements as well. Now what is left? Left is these last circles. These last circles, the error terms. You need to name them, but it is very difficult. You click, you write down E1, E2, E3. No, there is a shortcut for this. Go to the plugins. In the plugins, there is an option of name the unobserved variables. Click. See, automatically these are named. These will be named as these are created in that sequence. So it hardly matters that E4 is coming other place, E9 is coming to other place. So don't worry about it. It hardly matters. This numeric thing hardly matters. This is just the name of the error term. Fine. Next thing. What is this one signifies? If you see, all the constructs have one arrow which has one written. One, here it is 1 and here it is 1. What this signifies? This is actually the regression weight. Now what we are doing is, we are by default saying that in this specific structure, on the basis of V4, you calculate the values of V1, V2, V3. In the proportionate basis, you calculate these values. Fine. So these are known as the regression weights. These are known as the regression weights. AMOS requires that in every construct, you have to have one arrow with a regression weight of 1, which is a basis for starting the analysis. Which is a basis for starting the analysis. Now the next question people ask me, that if I do not put V4 as 1, I put V3 as 1. You can do it. Let me show you. I'll double click on the arrow. I'll go to the parameters. In the parameter, I am removing this 1 and I'm clicking cross. I am clicking V3 and I am putting the weight as 1. I can change it. I can put it on any of these statements. Does it affect my answer? Manipulations can happen. The result will change. That answer you will tell me when I'll run this model, that whether by changing the regression weight, are you able to manipulate the results, or are your results changing or not? This question I'm keeping it open till the next session, because when I show you the full working, then I'll show you that whether the answer changes or not. Fine. So do remember this, that if we change the by default regression weight, or I put it anywhere and I change it, does I get better results, or my results get poor, or there is no change in my results? That you will see. Fine. That I will show you in next session. Fine. Till this point, any question, anyone? Your CFA model is ready. This is the CFA model. Let's suppose this is my model. I had 3 constructs. Now this is the model which is ready. Any question? No questions? You understood how to create a model. You understood how to add the error term name. You understood how to name your constructs. You understood how you can add the covariances arrows.
Now
I haven't shown you how to run. I haven't shown you that.
Madam, one point is there, that
Yes.
what is how this value of the 1 is indicating?
This is what I'm telling you, sir. This is the regression weight, that on the basis of V3, please calculate the values of V1, V2 and V4.
Regression weight for a particular variable.
Yes, for a particular item. This is
Okay.
actually used to write the equation, sir. See,
Okay.
all of these are actually the equation itself. Like ease of use is formed from V1, V2, V3, V4. So I am deriving the value of this variable from these 4 variables.
Okay.
So these are all like equations.
Okay. So instead of 1, can we have the weight is 2?
No, we always start with 1. The weight is always, the base is always 1. 100%, 100%. We are saying that V3 is able to explain 100% about ease of use.
So base is always 1.
Yes, because we are assuming, that variable 3, the statement number 3, explains everything about ease of use. Fine. So now on the basis of V3, tell me how the others are explaining. Okay. Anything else? Any other question, anyone? No questions? Okay. So this is the difficult way of forming a diagram. Fine. It is very tedious. The models which we run in the PhDs or which we run in our analysis hardly have, 3 constructs. They have so many statements. You see the questionnaires, 40 statements, 50 statements. It will take a lot of time. So let me make your life very easy now. This is the difficult part. First I explained you. Now let's understand the easiest part. For the easiest part, you have to install a plugin named Pattern Matrix Builder. I have shared one link with the organizers, with Dr. Ramesh. I have shared one link. So they will share it with you. There is a folder of plugin, and also the instructions is attached how to install that plugin. From that, please, you have to download this Pattern Matrix Builder. If you haven't downloaded, don't worry, you can do it later on. Write down the steps I am telling you, fine, and do it. It is very simple. So you need to have patron matrix builder. How to use it? Let me show you. If you open this, it will ask you one thing. What it is asking you? Paste the
SPSS.
copied data from the SPSS pattern matrix. So for running this, you have to first run your data in the SPSS, do the EFA, which is exploratory factor analysis, take a table and then paste it here. Let me give you the quick way. So this is the SPSS. In the SPSS, this is the data file which is loaded already. I go to analyze, I go to dimension reduction factor. I selected all my variables here. I am not performing the exploratory factor analysis. Understand that. I only require one table. Fine. So I only require one table. For that, I am doing it as principal component based on eigenvalue 1. I'm going for Verimax rotation. And in the options, I am going for sort by size, suppress the small coefficients, suppress the loadings which are less than 0.40. Fine, I'm starting with 0.40. You can directly start with 0.50. There is no problem at all. Click OK. Once you click OK, this is the output which comes. I am not reading the output. I am directly going to what I require. I require this matrix, rotated component matrix. Your matrix should be clean like this. If it is not clean, then first correct your EFA and then move forward with the CFA. So this is the matrix. I will simply copy this and I will take it to my MOS and paste it. See, it is pasted here. Nothing to be done. Just Control V paste and click on create the diagram. Can anybody say something about this? Yes, please. Your CFA model is ready with just one click. You do not have to drag and drop anything.
Ma'am, please revise. We are noting.
Okay. You have to run the factor analysis into the SPSS. Once you run the factor analysis, go to the output, click the rotated component matrix, copy that matrix, take it to the MOS, go to the plugins, click on Patron Matrix Builder and paste it there. Just paste it there and click on Create Diagram. And your model will be created. But please make sure that this file is already loaded into the MOS. The file has to be beforehand loaded into the MOS.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Nothing is required, ma'am, like the circles and square.
Everything is done. See, everything is automatically comes. This is the beauty of this plugin. You do not have to make the diagram yourself. You just have to give the values. It automatically makes the diagram for you. So this is very much advisable when you have a bigger model. Fine. Just copy paste the SPSS result and put it here. You will get a output automatically, and that too very clear. Of same size, very clear.
Okay,
So madam, in this particular case, for the error term and variable error, there is a 111 is given for the on variable, which we need to keep it as it is.
You want, you can change, but even if you change, you will see how the results will change. Fine.
Okay,
For that,
so-
let's wait for 4-5 minutes. Our session is about to be 5 minutes break. Then I will show you that. Okay.
Sure.
So let's break for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Yes.